It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome in to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. I'm J.C. Sherbert. He's Phil Mullinax. It is a Monday. That means we have Keith Allsup coming up to review the game from Thursday night. Hope you all had a good weekend. I know I did. Got a chance to take the Friday off and enjoy football from a non-Gamecock perspective this weekend. Phil, it seems like some people are upset out there in Gamecock land that maybe some other teams played well on Saturday.
We're miserable in everyone else's joy.
The transitive properties in full effect. I mean, people, the great escape Georgia had against Missouri certainly was an eye-opener, I think. But I know this. Every game is different. So, I don't know what it was about Georgia going out there. That's a place where they've kind of struggled at times through the years. It surprised me because Missouri, I don't think, has played very well this season at all and was coming off that tough loss to Auburn. But the Dogs found a way to pull it out and win the game. Missouri's defense, I thought, played really, really well on Saturday. I think that was a point of contention. I think watching Kentucky give the game away to Ole Miss, they should have had it. I mean, they were down and came back. And, you look at some of their perimeter players like Barry Brown, Dane Key, those freshmen. I think those are guys you're going to be hearing about for a long time in Lexington. Chris Rodriguez is back. But I'll say this about Kentucky just off the top of my head, and then we'll talk a little bit about SC State, Phil. Mm-hmm. All right. And I didn't come up with this by myself. Josh Pate came up with this. They called Kentucky a couple of years ago a spider web team. What they do, you look at their box scores, it's never all that impressive. They're never up 500 yards of offense or anything like that. They do hold the ball. They usually have a couple of turnovers. Statistically, they don't always win that, the stats. But what they do is they get you into their web of play, and you end up having to play their game, and they can beat you like a spider. They wrap themselves around you and smother you to death almost. It's kind of it's a weird thing, but they do have some playmakers. And I thought Ole Miss, once they got up and had to settle for some field goals in the red zone and then kind of an ill-advised fourth down. I guess you don't kick it in that situation. They would have only gone up 6. And then fortunately they got the turnover at the end that saved the day for them. Saving the day like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, their defense stepped up and just put a stop to it, and it was over.
Yeah, and then that was that. Thought that they did look good. I think they look like a really good team. Like I said, I think my guys are right. They're not what they have been on the offensive line. They don't rush for bushels of yards, but they're very effective at it. And then Levis can get it out on the perimeter, and it hurts you a little bit. So not an easy task. Today's poll question obviously is related to the Kentucky game. Will the Gamecocks cover the 11.5-point spread? So far, the no's have it. 68% yes or no, 38% yes so far. So not a lot of great feelings out there in Gamecock land today, Phil, as we head into Kentucky week.
Not even cautious optimism, I think everybody's just, I don't know. There's a sense of down about the season already, which I'm not there. It's still early. We just played a quarter of it at this point.
Yeah.
But we got a big game coming up in Lexington. So, might as well stay positive until, time to not be positive comes. That's not Saturday.
I agree. And just wanted to say thanks to Curse Light for the I Help Consulting mailbag. Sent me a big PBR sign. Is that the new way?
Yeah,
indeed it is.
Yeah, that's the new way.
It is a picture of the new way. I'm definitely saving this to my desktop. All hail the New Way Bar and Grill in Spartanburg, South Carolina. SC State game, I thought, again, it was a little bit of a slow start. I guess I'm a little different in the sense that, Phil, I sort of thought I didn't really have a big problem with the play calling or how the offense was run. I think they basically kind of did sort of the same thing they did against Charlotte. It was just kind of it was a more balanced attack. That's kind of what I was looking for out of the game. Spencer Rattler spread it around to a lot of different receivers. I don't think the interceptions were his fault or a bad play call either. I don't think it was coaching or him. I think it was just both of those were kind of just unfortunate.
Fluky, you got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, Xavier Legette has to do it. You know, I like that Juice Wells got 7 receptions. I do wish they'd get him out vertically a little more. And I'm still in the Jaheim Bell needs the ball more fan club, you know, obviously. But I think that, you know, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I thought, you know, 50 points on a Thursday night, kind of a rushed week, sloppy type. I expected a sloppy game. You know, I don't think SC State played very well at all, you know, just to be honest. I think Buddy Pugh was a little upset. I don't want to say upset, but concerned after the game, and rightfully so. And then on their offense, I think SC State, just like Vanderbilt did last year, you know, heading into the Vandy game last year, they weren't prepared for Mike Wright. They were expecting the other kid. And I think they were kind of expecting just to have to stop Corey Fields for SC State. But they brought their backup in and ran zone read, and that kid's fast, and Carolina wasn't prepared. He had 95 yards.
Yep.
Yeah, he had 95 yards on that one. Now, Levis is a dual threat quarterback. I mean, people have to keep that in mind. He will run it on you, so you got to be careful. And certainly have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed heading into Lexington this weekend. But, you know, that was kind of the disappointing thing about Thursday night on defense is that there was that element of surprise, and the Gamecocks kind of got caught with their pants down. But I totally understand, you know, you're not going to probably rep that a whole lot in a short week. And, you know, he hadn't played a whole bunch until the other night, and it did seem to get SC State's offense going a little bit. And people got to keep in mind too, in games like that, you once you get up a certain amount, you're rotating guys in constantly, so you don't really know who was even on the field when some of those plays busted. But you know, South Carolina they have to play better defensively and offensively. I think that's pretty much a given, and put together a 4-quarter football game, you know, or else it's going to be a long night up in Lexington against the Wildcats. I also will say this. I don't think there's any reason why Carolina can't go up there and win. 11.5-point underdog. That's kind of what the spread was for the North Carolina and Auburn games last year. They both were, you know, in Charlotte and at home, but, you know, Carolina's won in these situations before. So I don't really – I think the idea is don't get caught in Kentucky's spider web Saturday night. Go out there, play your game. Carolina needs to attack on the perimeter. Carolina needs to, on offense, take the fight to Kentucky a little bit. Now, there is some injury news out of Lexington. I think KSR, Kentucky Sports Radio, is reporting this or talked about it today. Jaquez Jones, who is their linebacker that transferred in from Ole Miss, really good player. He's out. Could be able to come back by the end of the year, but out for South Carolina. Somebody named Flax has a hamstring injury and is 50-50 to play Saturday. I don't know who that is. And then Cavassier Smoke, 50-50 in concussion protocol. You know, Jones is part of a linebacker group that's really good. I mean, there's not going to be a guy they put on the field that's at his level. You know, so that could maybe help make their defense less good Saturday night. That's the strength of that defense too, is their linebackers, and then their offensive line is a work in progress. And then, you know, we all know who Smoke is. He's been up there for like 28 years. I think he's probably older than Brad Johnson and Sherrod Green for the Gamecocks, but he's there still. And you know, if they hadn't gotten Rodriguez back when they did, the Smoke injury would be very significant because they don't really have another back like Smoke and Rodriguez. So, and I didn't think Smoke played great against Ole Miss. I thought Rodriguez was really a big difference in that one, even though his stats just weren't great, you know. But Ole Miss has a pretty good run defense. You know, South Carolina needs to go up there and stop the run and pressure Will Levis and, you know, make him uncomfortable and just like on offense, take the fight to them. right?
Yeah, exactly. And he was still effective, even though you could tell it was his first game back.
Yeah, sure. He's going to be ready to go Saturday night. All right, Nana's Porch chat boxers, they're already there and getting fired up, getting all lathered up, getting ready for that Keith Allsep segment coming up at noon. Lance says, in early, how we doing? How we doing, player? That's Lance Player. I think I was going to call him Player from now on. That could be his. All right, what's up, Player? Doc said, good morning from Western North Carolina. What a weekend of football. Having our game over with made enjoying Saturday at home much easier. Yeah, you don't get the stress. I mean, there's no stress. At the same time, I do kind of miss Saturdays, the anticipation of a night kickoff on a Saturday. But it would have kicked off at noon, so they would have been over quickly anyway. Mm-hmm. Good morning. I hope I don't get blocked like Brad.
Did you see that over the weekend? Brad Crawford showed a screenshot of Marcus Satterfield having blocked him on Twitter. He's like, I don't know when it happened, but it did.
Do we think that's actually Marcus Satterfield doing that, or?
Well, he had the check mark, so I mean,
that's his account. I
see. Who's running the?
Yeah, he doesn't tweet that much, so.
No.
I thought, I did notice he got blocked. I think Keith got blocked by Marcus Satterfield as well. I don't think I'm blocked, not right now. But I haven't put any criticism on Twitter, though. I mean, I've been trying not to do that this year. I think I said one thing about the D-line during the Charlotte game that there's really no excuse, and they played better, so that was it. But
Jimmy Lindsey then.
Interesting times, interesting times when the OC is blocking media members on Twitter. That's interesting. I think that's pretty interesting. Doc laughs. Daniel says, good morning, fellas. Good morning, Daniel. Krager says, I'm already having Chris Rodriguez flop sweats. Yeah. Carolina has not been that successful stopping him. But, hey, there's a first time for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's the thing. You got to realize, like, look, okay, Kentucky – you can watch Kentucky this year and watch Carolina this year through 5 games each and go, man, this is the same story. It's setting up for the same storyline. It's going to be a frustrating game where you walk away and, Carolina loses and you go, man, they have their chances to win. And it's just been 9 years of frustration against this group. Even the game Carolina won in 2019, Kentucky just absolutely did not have a quarterback. They hadn't figured out yet to put their receiver at quarterback, which they did, and ended up winning 8 games and the whatever the bowl in Charlotte was called then. I think it was Belk then. They beat Virginia Tech. So Carolina avoided that one. that bunch of torture. But it's an interesting group for sure this year at Kentucky. And but the thing is, you got to understand every team's different, every year's different, every game is different. I don't think probably Missouri's fans weren't giving them much of a shot against Georgia, based on their body of work, and look at what happened. Kansas State lost to Tulane a couple of weeks back. I think we're starting to realize that the Wildcats are a pretty dang good football team. Mm-hmm. The whole state of Kansas is pretty dang good, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Both are doing quite well.
Game day's going to Kansas.
Going to KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawks. So, I mean, you got TCU blowing out Oklahoma. Nobody saw that coming. I think that certainly, if you're a Gamecock fan, Clemson coming back and beating NC State was probably not something that you relished. But I have to say that one didn't surprise me. At home, at night, it's NC State, which is, until last year had kind of a rough go of it against Clemson. The matchups were there. I thought Clemson played their best football game. And, and if you look at that team compared to a couple of weeks ago, Clemson's gotten better. And that's what football teams, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I think South Carolina the last 2 weeks has gotten better. And I'll say this, I completely understand the level of competition. There's no doubt. I'm not giving anybody any awards or saying the Gamecocks have arrived because they won those 2 games. But I've said it before, fans and analysts and those of us that talk about it all the time and want to analyze it all the time, we look at things a lot differently than the players. The players it doesn't matter who you're playing. You're out there playing football, and you want to do the best you can. And I think anytime you have good things happen during a football game, there's some carryover there, and they're not looking at it like, oh, we just played SC State and 50 to 10 is not good enough. That kind of thing. Oh, well, the offense didn't go off to a good start. They're sitting there going, man, I had another touchdown run, or man, I got another interception, and man, things are really starting to come along. So, I think what you got to do is build on that. There's all kinds of recent trends that tell you South Carolina doesn't have a shot in this game. Run defense for Carolina has been abysmal at times. It's on the road. Carolina struggled there quite a bit. Excuse me. So that's I get it. I get the every reason in the world to say, oh, Carolina's got no shot here. But I will say this, not trying to sunshine pump or anything, but I think this matchup is a little bit better than people think if the Gamecocks will just go out there and play their best. Just one of those things. Rob says, morning, JC, Phil, and viewers. Unlike what I've seen from a lot of Gamecock fans, I'm extremely hopeful for this weekend at Lexington. There's a chance. I mean, look, man, South Carolina's got to go, and their playmakers have to make plays, right?
Yeah,
and their
right.
leaders have to step up. And there's all the physical nature of it. Kentucky is going to, they may not be as talented in the trenches, but they're still a very physical football team. They're going to line up and play some smash mouth and try to run it all over you. You got to be more physical. Hunter says defense is going to be as healthy as it can be going into Saturday. How does everyone feel about the UK game?
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty decent. I can't say it'd be dumb of me to sit here and say I expect Carolina to go up and win, that game, but I feel like it's doable. I'm not trying to. I thought Kentucky actually surprised me, Phil, with how they stayed with Ole Miss.
Yeah, they did. It worked out well for them. Ole Miss is a great, rushing football team, and everybody kind of thinks that they're throwing the ball all over the yard, but they got one heck of a damn running back, don't they?
That freshman,
he's a freshman.
Freshman's good. He's like, because Zach Evans is good, really good too.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zach comes in, and then so you kind of think, well, they got Zach Evans, but that's he's only part of the duo there, right? This other guy is really, really good. You're right about Ole Miss. That's one of the things I like about the Browse, the Browse tree system. And I talk about that a lot because those systems enable you to run the ball. If your strength is at running back, heck, you can line up and run it. If your strength's at quarterback and receivers like it has been for Ole Miss, you can line up and chuck it all over the yard. It's just one of those things. Quinshawn Judkins from Pike Road, Alabama.
Judkins,
3-star guy from Pike Road, Alabama. So there's yet another example of why to recruit 3-star guys from the state of Alabama, because that state, Alabama and Auburn, can't take them all, and they've got really good football players in that state. But Quinshawn Judkins, that guy's he's really, really good. So a nice surprise for Lane Kiffin there. And all that. So that's that was that there. Queasy says Satterfield's lighting up the scoreboard. 106 points the last 2 games. Give him a raise. I don't
Contract extension.
Doc says fans LOL. Brian says muck, and I can't stress this enough. Fart Stoops. It's officially Kentucky hate week. Craig says Kentucky's best run was the pitch play to Rodriguez. You got to set the edge and push him back inside. I see him going for at least 150 yards. Yeah, that's a problem right now. So you're looking at Jordan Burch and Gilbert Edmond. You got to set that edge, get off blocks. You have to tackle well out there. Cornerbacks, safeties have to come up and fill, that kind of thing.
Yep, got to get off blocks, and if he does get on the outside, which he's going to. There's going to be plays where he does.
Don't get blocked. Alex says Kentucky's the Waffle House of college football. Not pretty, but consistent and versatile.
And we'll whoop you.
And we'll whoop you. We'll whoop your butt. Yeah. Xavier's listening from Twisp, Washington today, worried about slow starts this week. Yeah, that's a concern until it's not. On the road, especially because Kentucky's going to have a pretty big crowd. They're excited about football up there. They've actually got really good football fans People think, oh, it's not like North Carolina where, sometimes they just don't show up for football games because it's basketball season or whatever. Kentucky gets, even when they're not good, they'll get 50, 60,000 in there and all that good stuff. Thomas says, hey, guys, love the show. What are the odds that Satterfield outsmarts Kentucky's defense? LOL. I don't know.
I don't think it's about outsmarting them at this point. You just need to execute and go out there and do your best, and you got a chance. Because like you said, JC, it was like the play calling wasn't really that concerning over the past couple of weeks. My biggest concern is like just personnel utilization. And we got
that's been a problem.
And that package in, and it was like, why do we keep taking our biggest playmakers off the field just to run a different package of people out there? Mm-hmm. It's not defense. You don't need to rotate through them. You can keep your skill players out there more than that.
I think that's unofficially it was 44 snaps for Nate Adkins, 14 for Jaheim Bell Thursday. So I don't know, milk carton watch for Jaheim Bell still this week. And I'm with you. Personnel usage has been something that's kind of like baffled me for a while. Mm-hmm. This year in game play calling wise, I thought Thursday was probably the best. And look, again, just because you got a good play call on doesn't mean it works.
Right.
Like incomplete passes, things like that. Sometimes it doesn't. But I thought they tried to be a little more balanced. They didn't run that many plays. Shane Beamer was right. I mean, they only ran 50 something plays, and Lloyd got another 8 yards per carry kind of night for him. They couldn't stop him, and weirdly they put him back in to score a touchdown late. I thought that was kind of a little bit weird. Gosh,
yeah, I was yelling at the TV at that point. I'm like, sit him down.
Rest him. He needs to rest.
Yeah, and then there was that one series where Luke was in. I think it was his first one, and then they that was the one where the play calling kind of made me scratch my head because I was with that third down, and then 4th and 9, you throw a perimeter pass that hadn't really been working all night.
Yeah. When Luke Doty got in, it was a little bit of a weird situation for sure.
That was one of those. I was like, "What the hell did we just watch?"
Carolina Titan says we looked horrible versus Georgia, and they struggled for 2 straight weeks. Makes you wonder if our coaching is just that bad, or is it the players? I think it's matchups. Georgia was a tough matchup. The game got out of hand early. Again, transitive property. I'm guilty of it as well, right? Just because Team A beat Team B by this much does not mean that's a predictor of future outcomes. You can try the best. You can try your best, and obviously, comparing scores is, perfectly legit. I mean, like I said, I do it too. But
I think the biggest takeaway from and the biggest takeaway from me for Georgia, Missouri was, you're down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and you're the number 1 team in the country, and they did exactly what a number 1 team in the country in that situation should have done, which is come back and win the game. So, it was like you get down, face adversity, they answered.
That's what you got to do. And then that's what another key for the Gamecocks is, inevitably something early in the Kentucky game will not go Carolina's way. That's just football. It happens. It's how they respond to it. And that's not, I thought last year, you kind of look at, and I hate to compare last year to this year, but you kind of look, last year's team had some resiliency. I mean, came back against Auburn. The Florida game was sort of back and forth before the Gamecocks blew it open in the second quarter. They survived North Carolina, kind of making a comeback in the bowl a little bit, a comeback-ish. So they're resilient. I mean, I just, on the road at night in the SEC has not been a winning formula for this team for a while. And so, you got to come out and counterpunch if you're the Gamecocks. Otherwise, it'll be another blowout loss on the road, and everybody will be even more upset next week. Oh, yeah. And then there's an open date. You got 2 weeks of misery. Xavier said there were suspect play calls Thursday, but as a whole, it was pretty good.
Yeah, some. I mean, just some of them to scratch your head, but who knows?
Carolina Titans says Kentucky could give our defense problems. Their passing game can be an issue. Absolutely. Perimeter: Barry and Brown, Dane Key, the kid they got from Virginia Tech, all good players. I think they actually. Well, you can't replace Wan'Dale Robinson, right? because he's special. But I think they actually have more options in the passing game this year than last, when it was just kind of like, okay, well, you can probably try to, shut down Wandale and you're good. And they had another guy too that's pretty decent. But this year, I think those 3 guys are studs, and I think they are very problematic. Hunter says, good thing is Darius Rush, David Spalding, and Cam Smith are all fully back. That's true. They've missed David Spalding a little bit, just some first spot duty and all that. Won't have 24 and 25 getting put on top of a fire. That's true. Tim says, did Emin play Thursday? I thought he played a good bit early, and then Roderick was in there for a lot. So maybe they're trying to rest him. I know against Georgia, he got a little banged up. So maybe they're trying to do that. And it wasn't yesterday, it was Thursday. I'm sorry for saying yesterday. Lady Bree, Titan, our DBs will need to play great, especially when Levis extends plays. But our D-line has to create pressure. It's really the thing we need. That's true.
Yeah, she's right. I mean, you're going to have to get him off his mark, because obviously that worked. Worked well.
Yeah, no doubt. Dre says Hot Rod is hard to tackle, and we seem to have a hard time tackling for some reason. That's a bad combo. That's true. Breaks tackles, and breaks tackles. And finds a way to fall forward, too. I thought, is he as good as Rocket Sanders at Arkansas? That was a question I had. Boy, Arkansas broke my heart on Saturday, man. Alabama gets way up. Here comes Arkansas coming back. And then here comes Alabama with their backup quarterback, like he's looking like he's Michael Vick, just taking off for touchdowns. Like, oh my God, must be nice to have that kind of depth, Right. Your Heisman Trophy winner quarterback gets crazy. Why am I getting out of here? My takes seem to keep coming true, but you keep saying I'm crazy. It is what it is. I don't know what that means. Blah, blah, blah. Rakeem Sprinkle. Should we shorten the receiver rotation, stick with a solid 3 or 4 so the chemistry can be good throughout the game? I don't know. I can see that. You're gonna play a lot of receivers anyway, just because you're shuffling them in and out. But I would have rather seen that long ball go up to Juice than Xavier Legette, and that's nothing against Legette. It was just it was a freak play. You got to hold on to the ball in that situation, but that could happen to anybody. Rob says, oh, yeah, I forgot to put where I'm from. Darlington, South Carolina, but listening from Decaturville, Tennessee. After getting out of an active duty situation, I married a beautiful woman from Tennessee and now live here. Well, congratulations. Tennessee's a great place to live.
Oh, yeah,
Rob, then he follows up with I miss home. And blah, blah, blah. The pick I tagged JC and Phil on Twitter about our stats versus Kentucky, and also the swing passes and the Beamer Sunday press conference. It's all there. If you don't see our progress, you're simply jaded. I mean, I'm with you sort of on that. I get, like I said, I understand the level of competition, and it wasn't good. But, I've also seen Carolina in some years, no matter who the coach was, struggle in those games. And, you get a sloppy, like 31 to 10-ish type game, and that was that. But,
I mean, there's definitely been progress over the past couple of weeks. And like you said, JC, it's like you're building that confidence in the team as you move into the later stages. This was like, it may not mean much to us. We did what we were supposed to do. But the team is going to feel really good after the past couple of weeks, because they are. I mean, there's incremental improvement every week. And with that trend being all year long, then who's to say that it's not going to continue on Saturday?
Yeah. Who's to say? Because it's one of those things. Queasy says the bad game against Georgia was because of the hangover from Arkansas. Had we played Charlotte the week before, the Georgia game would not have been the dumpster fire it was. Maybe that's maybe the case. Krager says Bell is going to transfer. Don't know. Saunders says, seems I'm being pedantic, but the only drive I was happy about was the first offensive series of the second half. Other than that, wasn't impressed. Wasn't bad, but didn't wow me either. Yeah, well, they just lined up and ran the ball. Yeah. And then it was the same thing they did against Charlotte. They just lined up. They used those big, probably, I don't want to call them jumbo personnel packages, but, with Wyatt Campbell in there at tight end and Atkins in there at tight end. And they just kind of ran it. Lucky T says, let's go. They did go vertical more against SC State, and I think that was good for them to do. I mean, that's what people kind of wanted, because I do think there's something to be said for beating Kentucky over the top in certain situations. Now, that didn't happen a lot against Ole Miss. The Rebels didn't really chunk it way down the field a lot, but they did take their shots. And like I said, you just got to avoid getting into their spider web. In other words, Carolina gets off. Let's say they do get off to a good start Saturday night. You got to continue to attack. We all remember the 2017 Kentucky game. That ball game couldn't have started any better for South Carolina with a touchdown on the first play on offense and a turnover the first play on defense. But you missed an extra point and you missed a field goal, and that zapped momentum, and then Kentucky got you in the spider web and ended up winning 23-13. And that was very disappointing. Because they don't, they'll just sit there and kind of plug away. And the next thing you know, your nice little lead is down to nothing, and they've got the momentum.
Right.
So, and they got to get better. Carolina does on the defensive line. So I agree with you there, Krager. 4 sacks in 5 games from this dominant defensive line. Give me a break.
Yeah, not enough.
Yeah, they got to play a lot better. They got to play a lot better. So anyway, first segment went by pretty well. Don't forget Keith Allsep at the top of the next hour to give his take on everything, and continuing on with Nana Sports Chat Boxers and some stuff from the iHelp Consulting Mailbag right here on a Monday episode of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets.
Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks is presented to you by Manscaped. Remember, use the code BIGSPUR for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. And the first hour of the show is presented by Cindy Searfoss Realty at Coldwell Banker Kane. Give Cindy a call for all your upstate real estate needs, 864-414-5271.
All right. Thank you to Cindy for being our sponsor here. And like I said, big fan of Cindy Searfoss, Coldwell Banker Kane. She's got the first hour right here on Inside the Gamecocks show, along with Manscaped. Be sure to get your Manscaped on and help us out with that. The iHelp Consulting Mailbag. 2 ways to get into the mailbag. You can tweet to @theBigSpurPod, or you can email insidethegamecocks@gmail.com. And Phil, we got a question, a couple of questions from Gamecock Pastor. How about that? Off Twitter. Yeah. Pastor says, number one, how does Greg Adkins' absence impact us this week? Well, he's been out for a little while. So I think Lonnie Teasley is a capable fill-in on the O-line. And I think that group's played better the last couple of weeks. So obviously the competition rises this week, Phil, but you can kind of see the O-line gelling a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. No, they definitely have made incremental improvements. So, I mean, and that's another, it seems like each position group, JC, has definitely gotten better week to week. Injury notwithstanding, obviously, the secondary's been a little up and down.
Yeah. And everybody's back this week, though. So you got Rush. Rush is back. I think that's big. He's a starter for a reason. People pick on Marcellus Dial. I think, I don't know what the expectation was there that, he would shut down the whole side of the field or not, but I think he's playing pretty good. He gets beat like most corners sometimes, but and he's going to have a good game. I mean, Dial, Rush, Cam Smith, you name it in the secondary. They're going to, this Kentucky team is a little like we talked, Phil, about Georgia being different than they normally are. Mm-hmm. This Kentucky team's kind of the same way. I mean, they're going to try to run the football because that's who they are, but they will also attack you down the field on the perimeter, as we saw against Ole Miss. I mean, Barry and Brown, Dane Key, like I said, those two freshmen are outstanding and really well with that. And then Gamecock Pastor says, what are you hearing about MJ Bennett now that he's announced his commitment date? Mazio, I think he's going to Tennessee right now. Just to be straight up honest with you guys, I think that's the trend. Gamecocks are trying, to battle and all that good stuff. And I don't know that it's not going to be Carolina, but I'd be really concerned about Tennessee right now if I were the Gamecocks. And that offense up there looks like a lot of fun to play in. I was
going to say, look at the two different offenses. Which one would you rather play for if you were a young wide receiver?
Yeah, I know. And that's unfortunate because, this is one where it comes down to comfort. All recruiting decisions come down to comfort level. And so you weigh that comfort level and, what makes you the most comfortable, the offense or the fact that you got this great relationship at Carolina, or whatever. But yeah, that's but he's 2024, so you never know. You may go in, and maybe he commits Tennessee or something like that, as long as there's not NIL money involved, which they seem to do up there. You go, he commits, you stay after him. There's a long way to go. A lot of different things can happen, right? It's recruiting. So good to hear from you again, Pastor. We always appreciate that. Forget my voice. I don't know what the heck is going on today. Feels bad for Step. It has to be impossible to recruit high schoolers to this offense. It's been a little bit of a challenge so far. You got to go get a player. You got to work around that. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. I guess.
I don't blame Step, because he's going to catch a hell of a lot of heat for losing another in-state recruit.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's not 100% his fault.
I don't either. I think that's one thing. Yeah, I mean, and Hunter brings up, hey man, look what we're doing over here. You can catch a swing pass, you can block for 75% of your snaps.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that worried me, when you start talking about the Rams, and I read up on it, and it's like the Rams love blocking wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, then why did the best blocking wide receiver hit the portal? PJ Jenkins to go to Georgia Tech. I mean, he was he couldn't he wasn't an ideal X receiver. He was more of a guy you run across the middle and stuff. But EJ was a devastating blocker on the perimeter because he's 6'7", 240. Who wouldn't be? So
speaking of Tech, how about Georgia Tech this past weekend?
I on the JC and Morgan podcast, we have our picks every week. And so we're sitting there talking about the Georgia Tech game. And I'm like, man, will they get up off the mat for alum Brent Key and play the game of their lives and win? And I was like, probably not. And then lo and behold, they did.
Showed out.
And that's the problem with teams in the ACC that are all trying to catch Clemson. Woefully inconsistent. They'll a team like Pitt is very good, but they'll drop an upset in a heartbeat. A massive upset, like where you're like, wow, how did that even happen? Same with Miami, Middle Tennessee, same with North Carolina. Those teams in the ACC, people like, besides there being this huge difference in talent between them and Clemson, they are very inconsistent football programs. And Clemson is just the opposite. They're very consistent. So that's people want to know what's wrong with the ACC. Some of these schools like Pitt and North Carolina and Virginia Tech and all these schools that care about football. I mean, I think North Carolina cares about football. They spend a lot of money on it. So they need to be more consistent. That's just that's all there is to it about the ACC. But hey, that was a heck of a win by old Brent Key and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on Saturday at Pittsburgh, pulling the massive upset. So that's good. Drew says thoughts on the Vols only -3 at LSU. I mean, LSU could win that game straight up.
LSU's not a bad team.
No,
They just looked bad in that first game, and I think everybody's carrying that through, right?
Yeah, and they kind of, if you watch them against Mississippi State, and their defense held up pretty well against that attack. Obviously, that attack went up and down the field on A&M pretty bad. Mike Leach has a, I think his overall record against A&M something like 10-3 with at Texas Tech and Mississippi State. But I think LSU, having faced Mississippi State already, will probably be prepared for that the Vols offense. Now, historically, I'll say this: Tennessee usually plays pretty well in Baton Rouge. I remember a couple of years ago, Derek Dooley actually pulled off a massive upset, and then they walked him off the field. He was on the field celebrating, everything was fine, and there was a penalty flag for Derek Dooley. And LSU certainly scored right then and won the game 16-14. So it wouldn't surprise me to see LSU win that game. I mean, that's I know everybody loves Tennessee's offense and all that, but that's a tough place to go get going. And I like the fact that LSU's played a system like that. Now I realize they did not look great against Auburn. Auburn actually, I thought, played better than I thought. LSU still won the game, but it was still one of those. Auburn could be a potential spider web team this year, Phil. Just kind of thinking about their style of play. It's now all of a sudden back to defense and pounding the rock, and they're not going to put a lot of points on the board, et cetera. But, I do think Auburn could potentially be one of those spider web teams this year.
Yeah, there are definitely games on their schedule where all they have to do is outlast.
Yeah, outlast. The struggle, the struggle, the struggle well or whatever. Hunter says Stepp doesn't have a selling point. We have a top quarterback in the country, and Sat doesn't believe in passing down the field. Yeah, I mean, they took a few more shots against SC State, but I think they feel like their best chance is probably going to be hit the short stuff, hope you break one, run the football, that kind of thing. But you never know week to week. I mean, who knows? I'd like to see them come out, run a balanced attack, maybe run some tempo to try to keep Kentucky off balance on defense, get the ball to your playmakers, put them on the field, that kind of thing. If you can run it with Marshawn Lloyd, those power formations, I'm all for that, because, it's cliche, Phil, but they say you take your running game and your defense on the road.
Right.
And your special team. So that's it's going to be important for Carolina to run the football well. If you look at this series with Kentucky, it's normally the team that outrushes the other team that wins. The one game Carolina won in 2019, they outrushed them, and shut them down on the run. The one exception was 2014. That was a game Carolina was up 2 touchdowns and blew. The Dylan Thompson pick 6 game, 45-38 was the final there. Mike Davis had a huge night rushing the ball up in Lexington that night. So, that's the thing. The 2009 LSU game, Vols had 13 guys in on defense at the time. Carolina Titan says, with the talent we have, we should run a Mike Leach type offense. We have too much talent at the wide receiver and tight end positions. I don't know if it should be exactly like Leach, but something like Ole Miss, something like Tennessee, something like maybe not quite as fast as Tennessee, but something similar to the systems that are putting up points in yards, right, Phil?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's so frustrating about what we're doing is that we're watching other teams who throw these quick outs, out to the perimeter, but their wide receivers are 2 or 3 yards down the field, where ours are 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So it's like not so much play call, but maybe interesting play design.
Yeah, the play designs are supposed to be good. I don't know. I don't like throwing it short of the sticks. I don't
either. I'm getting tired of seeing it like 2-3 yards behind, because if you're one missed block away from losing yards.
Mm-hmm.
And and if you're doing that multiple times in a series, then you're just exposing yourself to potential loss a bit more than you generally have to.
Yeah. I got you. And that's not good, because you need to be moving forward. Matt says we got in 12 personnel and ran it to the nub side that game, JC, per Muschamp. Yeah, that's when Will called the play.
Yep.
At halftime. We're going to get the nub. We're going to run it to the nub side and get in 12 personnel. And they did it, and I think Rico Dowdle scored, or somebody scored. Right then. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Kalunda says our play calling feels like we don't know how to play an advantage in the moment. We will run a successful player formation, then switch to something else instead of punishing a defense with that play until they stop it. It feels like we're trying to keep a defense off balance, but in the process, it makes the offense get off balance and have no rhythm. A couple of things here. I feel you, because I don't feel like the offense has a good rhythm. I don't think you can run, pass though. And that's where I saw some improvement Saturday, is that it wasn't just let's run this series, let's pass the next series. So
yeah, much better balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lady Bree says everybody's talking about the downfield pass, but that's exactly what my tweet was about. Spencer's calling audibles to these lateral passes Only 10 lateral passes were thrown versus SC State, yet everyone says it was all swing passes. I think it's more of like the short passing game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people are frustrated. I mean, I don't like to use the word frustrated. If I had a preference, I guess, I would, I'd prefer to see Juice Wells get laterally more. They seem to like to throw it to him short and see if he can go make a play. But I think the guy can get downfield, in a hurry and make plays in that department. 76s, I could see Lloyd and Christian Bill Smith tagging Kentucky pretty good if we give them the ball and block a little, mix in some decent passing to keep them honest, and beating Kentucky's realistic. Yeah, look, it has to be alarming if you're Mark Stoops that, Kentucky's run defense is not as good as maybe it has been in years past.
Yeah, especially with you have down a linebacker again this week.
Yeah, Jaquez Jones probably won't be playing, and he's really good. Transfer from Ole Miss, he and Square, and I mean they've got their linebackers are really, really elite. But you just don't replace Jones, though. I mean, I don't know who they have behind him, but you don't replace him. So, you kind of look at the game Saturday in Oxford, and man, you sort of got you got ran through and around and over 186 rushing yards. Judkins with 15 per 106. They bottled up Zach Evans pretty good. 9 for 24 and a touchdown there, but could not stop Judkins. Dart ran it 8 times for 40 yards. Maybe they run Spencer a little more Saturday. Just a leaky defense, if you will. In the first half for Kentucky. Second half, they adjusted, and Ole Miss was, certainly had their chances to score more points, Phil, but it was a shutout, it was a scoreless stalemate in the fourth, and Ole Miss only got a field goal in the third. So that was after that first flurry, Kentucky, and that's what I'm saying. They tried to get them back in the spider web. Ole Miss is up 2 scores. They're rocking and rolling. That place sounds loud. I mean, it was loud on TV. And they're killing it, and then all of a sudden here comes Kentucky.
Hanging around.
Spider web, Kentucky blocked extra point too. I mean, they haven't. It's not been. They don't always play pretty football, but they win, and so that's kind of been the mojo for Kentucky here for a while. Jan says what's going to happen to Carolina Saturday is nothing that some Kentucky bourbon and PBR can't handle. Looking forward to catching up with Jan this weekend in Kentucky. It'll be fun. Rakeem says if we win this weekend, we would be like a lot of teams at 4-2. That's true.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You find a way to beat Kentucky, and like there's no. I think one of the big problems with Saturday, Phil, is Missouri looked really good and gave Georgia all they wanted, and so they're coming up. Kentucky had a good run of it at Ole Miss. That game was close. People look around and go, "Oh my goodness, there's Vanderbilt. Is an improved football team, and they got to go up there." And so everybody looks around and kind of goes, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen with the Gamecocks?" And we've all been through these seasons before, and we all know that it doesn't stay the same. You're not freezing October 1st, Han Solo style, and there he is. So, Lady Bree says Spencer read the D and took the under, audible to runs and short passes 2 times because everybody expected him to show off the arm and played back. That's what he's supposed to do. And his game management and skills and short and medium passing decisions and accuracy were the things killing us most. I think the failure to establish the run is probably killing them or killed them the most early, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But what it seems like they've done is gear it down a little bit to where, you're going to hit the short stuff and try to sustain drives and things like that. But, Lady Bree makes a good point. That you're supposed to take the underneath stuff if it's open. If everybody kind of plays back, and you got. But at the same time, I'd like to see them attack the middle of the field at some point.
I know it's just so frustrating. It was like just if you want a quick hit or do a little slant or something, and just get. I don't know. Works well off the play action when you can get the linebackers to cheat up and somebody's just streaking down the middle of the field. But I don't know.
Yeah. Middle of the field. I don't know why we hadn't seen like Stogner across, over the middle or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they're saving it for Kentucky, right? Quantrill says, I hate the national narrative when it comes to Spencer's turnovers, Spencer Rattler. It's almost like they don't watch the game. Yeah, I just don't. Some of them have been his fault. Some of them haven't. And Thursday, I didn't hang those on Rattler. I felt bad for him. I was like, here's 2 more interceptions. Great.
Yeah, I know. I did too. I was like, damn, those were both right where they needed to be. And I hate it for Xavier Legette because we know he can catch. It just, I don't know, maybe he was just off. Who knows?
Krager says, you notice Jaheim Bell doesn't do post-game interviews. Something is going on. I don't know. I haven't heard of anything going on with Jaheim that's not I think he's fine for right now. Obviously, he's a competitor and a player and wants the ball, just like everybody else. Jan says Commonwealth Stadium, Kroger Field is incredibly nauseating between plays with the loud music, and Mr. P.I. continues going, first down, Kentucky. Yeah, he's the worst. He's the worst. If it's the same guy that's still there, that guy. That's the absolute worst. Of course, I haven't been there since 2010. So Doc says he is being asked to play very different from his style. He struggled with these things at Oklahoma a little bit, but the run too, but I meant specifically where Spencer was messing up. They do need more attacks in the middle for sure. Yeah, because teams just, if they know you're not going to go across the middle, you're more easily defendable on the perimeter because there's no threat of that.
Yeah.
So that's the deal there. So the nauseating Kentucky play-by-or PA guy, man. You could probably pick up some of it on TV, but just being there is the worst. I mean, it's very, very annoying.
You can hear how irritating it is on the radio call.
Yeah,
better than TV.
Kentucky, and he's
I'm not there listening to that.
He's got kind of a unique voice, It's like you just kind of, I don't know. You expect him to kind of pop out and I don't know, do some putting on the Ritz or something. And I like, well, what was that movie where the alien puts on the Ritz? Anyway,
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. If you've got yeah. Jaheim's mom has publicly voiced concerns about him not getting the ball. Yeah, people need to stay off social media. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Jaheim doesn't deserve the ball. I mean, he does, and you only play him 14 snaps. I mean, it just seems like it just doesn't seem very likely that he is like not one of your best players. Let's just put that out.
Personnel utilization.
76 says Kentucky just isn't scary. They're very beatable if we play together with consistency in the run game and can control things, then make opportunistic pass plays and use midfield passing. So that's that's kind of how I feel about it. Lady Bree says Spencer came here to develop in a pro system specifically. I really need to get this audio file uploaded. I don't know.
Well, we remember what he said during the preseason that, and one of the things we loved about Satterfield was that he was going to be, more pro football ready. I just think, that sits, it's hard to stomach that when we've lived through, the last era we did where we're putting guys into the league and the team itself is not producing a whole.
I don't want to hear about the NFL anymore.
I don't so tired of hearing about that. What I'd like to hear is, oh, hey, we're running an offense that's geared around our playmakers, and look, we're winning games.
Yeah. Lady says Bell has had drops in key situations. That's on him. I don't remember when did he drop a ball? When did Bell drop one?
I think he may have. I don't maybe remember. In Charlotte game, maybe
he may have had a drop.
I remember there were a couple of passes defended in the Georgia and Arkansas games, but I don't think that was on him. That's just good defense.
Lady says Stogner's outplaying Bell in this system. Well, here, this is my contention on it. My problem with it is it should never be Austin Stogner or Jaheim Bell. And these are Satterfield's own words that Jaheim Bell's not a tight end. And I think that in the bowl game last year, he did not play tight end a lot. You want him to have a big game like that. He doesn't need to be. I mean, I just, you've got other guys that are more good traditional tight ends with the blocking, and Jaheim can block. Don't get me wrong, but he needs to have the ball in other ways. I just think he's too good. Bell isn't getting enough touches. I don't care about anything else. If Atkins is getting more snap than Bell's, and we have a problem. Well, it's 44-14, but as Lady Bree points out, though, like, when they're in that heavy set, you almost can play Jaheim somewhere else, receiver, running back, whatever, because I like getting Nate Atkins out there blocking. I think he's a really good blocker, and that helps. That helps get the run game going. White Campbell, too, at times. So he got to play a lot the other night with Trey Kenyon out, and Trey's had a pretty quietly good year, too. So I think it just kind of depends on what you're going to do. I think Jaheim is a big play waiting to happen, and I think you have to kind of not get pigeonholed with using him and considering him a tight end. Oh, he's not as good as Stoddard, so let's do that, because I just don't evaluate him that way at all. All right, we got to get a break, right, Phil?
Yep.
Keith Allsep, his honesty segment coming up. Going to talk with him. I'm sure he's a little more positive maybe than last. I don't know. We'll get Keith's take on everything coming up on the other side. Top of the hour break here on Inside the Gamecocks show.
If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey, folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. Go there, food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
What's up? This is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks Show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, look, there was Jaheim Bell. We found him. He's right there. The second hour of the show is brought to you, of course, by let's see, who's bringing us Burgesson team. Commercial, yeah, you got real estate on both sides of the hour here. Yeah, but commercial real estate. They call the Burgesson team or Remax at the lake. Give them, shoot them an email, Adam or Derek, BERGESON at remax.net. And of course, we're sponsored by Manscaped, 20% off with the code Big Spur. And we are joined on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by none other than the incomparable cockfather, Keith Allsup. Good morning, Keith. How you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, we won.
That was high praise on the introduction, Phil. I hope I can live up to it. Hope you guys had a good weekend. It was nice to just relax on Saturday instead of being uptight and tense for 3.5 hours. You know, historically, I've related being a Gamecock football fan to, you know, basically like passing a kidney stone or being in, you know, child labor. It's just, you know, it's kind of like being a Braves fan when Will Smith or Kenley Jansen comes out of the bullpen. You just, it's just never as easy as you hope it is. But it was pretty easy the last 2 nights for my Atlanta Braves, who will, in all likelihood, claim the National League East for the 5th consecutive season, spoiling the New York Metropolitans once again. Go Chipper Jones. Suck it, Mets. Sorry, guys.
Had to get that out. The Metropolitans.
I wish I had a broom up here with me.
Keith, you know, I woke up this morning, you know, I think you know, 50-10 win on Thursday. I didn't have as big of a problem with that game as maybe some other folks did. I thought actually I didn't really have a big problem with most of the play calls for the first time in a long time. But sort of a sloppy game Thursday night, weird kind of situation, obviously, but a win. And then I get up today, and apparently everybody else that's on the schedule, they're not allowed to play good, or it's just like Carolina losing a game. You know, like oh my God, look at what Missouri, they almost beat Georgia. Oh my God, look at Ole Miss and Kentucky. Oh my God, Kentucky's so good. Oh, Tennessee, you know, blah, 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 blah. Clemson, oh my gosh, what a win, you know. It's everybody's in a bad mood today. Everybody's in a bad mood today for some reason, man.
I mean, I'm not in a bad mood, JC. I mean, look, rightly or wrongly, Ray Tanner has become Gamecock Nation's punching bag. You know, would the game have looked different if South Carolina knew on Sunday morning that they were going to play on Thursday? Absolutely, because you could have done more with the team on Sunday. You would have moved your Tuesday practice up to Monday. Then on Tuesday, you would have had your Wednesday practice, which is your second big day. And then on Wednesday, you could have had your regular Wednesday practice and then had your walkthrough Thursday morning before the game, because you're going to take Friday off. I thought Ray Tanner did the only thing he could do, which was make the decision he felt was best for the team with the information he had at the time. We all know these storms are unpredictable. They take twists and turns, but on Tuesday morning, when you had to make that decision, that thing was barreling down. The path was barreling down on the Midlands, and you didn't want to be playing a football game like NC State in 1999, where the turf at Williams-Brice is underwater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and I think too, the storm ended up hitting, making landfall at Pawleys Island. It took out the Pawleys Island pier.
Yes.
It wasn't as bad as, of course, our friends in Southwest Florida. When you say prayers for them, I mean, that was massive devastation. But you do have a hurricane that caused a lot of damage that's going to hit the coast. I mean, you probably made the best decision you could, like you said, and it wasn't like maybe, what was that Marshall game that they canceled where we're sitting here looking at blue skies Saturday night and why aren't the Gamecocks play, or even the Georgia game they moved to the Sunday. I thought this was legit. I thought, and it turns out that the storm came right on up through South Carolina. I mean, so that's I didn't think that was a bad decision at all, and I'm glad they got it in. And I think from a football standpoint, it probably helps some of these nicks and bruises that the team has, and everybody's going to be healthy going into Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a different looking game if South Carolina knows on Sunday versus saying Tuesday morning, hey, guys, we're moving the game up. You got 2 days to get ready. Quite frankly, it looked like two football teams that had not had a week of preparation, right? Because of the short notice. But, JC, I thought Spencer Rattler had his best game as a Gamecock. I thought he threw the ball extremely well, was extremely accurate despite wind gusts of up to 30 miles an hour. The second play of the game, he puts a deep ball right on at Xavier Legette, and same thing that happened to Xavier Legette every other year except last year happened. He bobbled it up in the air and it was intercepted. Then in the second half, Rattler puts one right on him in the red zone that if he catches it, he turns outside, he scores a touchdown. Rattler 21 of 27, you're talking about being 23 of 27 with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions for probably around 280 yards. So, I thought Rattler played well, defensively. Statistically, you held South Carolina State 1 of 11 on third down. You converted 50% of your third downs. You scored 7 touchdowns and 8 trips to the red zone. And so you just have to, it wasn't always pretty. And when you were watching it, you're like, good Lord, could this thing hurry up and get over? But, all things considered, you got to continue to play younger guys at linebacker and on the in the secondary. And like you said, the coaching staff gets a head start on Kentucky, and the players get an extra 48 hours to, rest and get over their bumps and bruises before, this team heads to Lexington. And you just have to hope that Marcus Satterfield and this offensive coaching staff can devise a game plan that'll get South Carolina off to a fast start, something that under Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield has not happened, particularly on the road.
Yeah, I think obviously it's going to be it's an issue until it isn't, getting off to a fast start or a better start if you're the Gamecocks. So I thought, one thing people, when you talk about the Carolina defense Thursday night, Keith, is the SC State's backup quarterback, Tyrese Nick. He's more of a runner. Same thing kind of happened last year against Vandy. They kind of game planned for the other guy, and then they put Nick in. I think that gave the Gamecocks some problems. Obviously, he was able to rush for 95 yards, and they had to do some on the fly adjusting. So, to your point about 2 days to get ready, that probably is part of it, that they weren't didn't rep or weren't expecting, and that's why SC State was able to make those plays. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he made a couple plays, and then, they put the younger guys in, and I thought Stone Blanton looked like a true freshman. there were a few times that guy would keep on the zone read and Stone Blanton. You'd see him going one way and he'd have to slow down, stop, and try to turn around and chase after, the running quarterback. And they kind of ripped off some big yards there in the second half. Look, Will Levis can run it. I thought Kentucky snatched defeat from the jaws of victory twice on Saturday, just like they did last year at Williams-Brice Stadium, except South Carolina refused to take advantage of it. 3 turnovers by Kentucky. South Carolina held them to 17 points. And this is a different Mark Stoops team, JC. They've allowed 19 sacks thus far this season. They're averaging about 87 yards per game running the football. Now, certainly Chris Rodriguez, what he means to that offense, that changed on Saturday when he, finally got out of DUI jail up there and was able to play. The thing that I fear is I've been really impressed with Berrien Brown, Dane Key, and Tavion Robinson at wide receivers. Brown and Key in particular are guys, JC, if you miss them, the band will start playing and they're going to run the kicker out for the extra point. And so hopefully South Carolina's secondary is healing. Shane Beamer optimistic that you would get Darius Rush and David Spalding back. I think that would be 2 big additions for this team heading to Lexington on Saturday.
Absolutely. This game usually comes down. I mean, Kentucky's won at 7 of 9, and I think there's maybe only one of those wins is when they haven't outrushed Carolina. And I think, maybe 2, because I think the COVID year, Kevin Harris had the big game, obviously. But non-COVID years, I can only remember 2014, Carolina outrushed them up there but lost. But other than that, it's been just some ugly rushing totals. Now, Kentucky's probably not as good as they normally have been against the run on defense. Obviously, Ole Miss's freshman went off on Saturday running the football. Still, they're stingy, 123.8 yards per game, 48th in the country in rush D. I think that, judging with the way the last 2 weeks have gone, it'd probably be in Carolina's best interest to remain balanced, but also to go up there and try to establish the run, because I just don't know that Kentucky's as stingy as they normally have been when it comes to giving up rushing yards.
I mean, I agree. I mean, look, outside of, they played Florida and Ole Miss. They played Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, and Northern Illinois. They, pulled it out against Northern Illinois 31-23. They beat Florida because AR-15 missed, there were no bullets firing out of that thing. If they were, they're going to the other team. And, they lost to Ole Miss, who's pretty good. I don't think this is last year's Lane Kiffin team, but, they did run the ball. Malik Heath had a big game, 6 for 100 yards, I think. That was a guy, South Carolina tried to get late. And honestly, it's cliche, but it's going to come down to the lines of scrimmage. Kentucky is outside of 2019 in recent years, JC, they bloodied South Carolina's nose, and South Carolina's had no response. Neither team is sacking the quarterback. Kentucky's allowed 19 sacks. They've sacked the quarterback 6 times. South Carolina's only sacked the quarterback 4 times. And, can South Carolina stop the run? And then what, I want your and Phil's thoughts on this. I mean, if you're South Carolina, do you go up there and try to start the game off by establishing the run, or do you spread them out and try to get your quick game and tempo going? Because they got that 340-pound nose guard that wears number 0. And do you kind of loosen them up with the passing game and then hit them with the run game? I mean, you gotta come up with tendency breakers, and you got to come up with a way to get off to a quick start. But if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm probably deferring to the second half this week. It may not be, but that's probably what I would do, because I think you got to hope this game is tight and you get it to the fourth quarter, with a chance to win, because we've seen Kentucky in a close situation not handle that very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree, Keith. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said tendency breakers, because that's one of the things that's been driving me insane over the past year and a quarter now, is that it just looks like we've got these locked in tendencies that we're not breaking for whatever reason on offense. And, it doesn't matter whether you're a balanced attack, you're one dimensional if you do not break your tendencies. So, I think, to answer your question, I'd love to see us kind of throw it, not chuck it all over the yard, but take advantage of, what might be a soft middle of the field with, their linebacker out. Don't try to run right into the nose, but, maybe some perimeter stuff, just be creative, but don't get cute, break some tendencies, be creative, and don't get cute.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think balance, but to Keith's point, I think what you got to do, and I mentioned this earlier, Keith. Josh Pate came up with this. Kentucky's a spider web team, and I think they almost caught Ole Miss Saturday. Ole Miss gets off to a fantastic start. I thought, hey, I think that Ole Miss is probably going to boat race them, because that's what I thought going in. But then all of a sudden, the game slows down. Mistakes are made with Ole Miss. Kentucky hits the big play. Next thing you know, they're right there, back in the game, and they never quit. And you're sitting there in the fourth quarter, and it's Kentucky's about to go win the game, and then fumbled. Like you said, they didn't handle that situation very well at all. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think on offense, one of the ways to take the fight to the other team is to just go out there and run it wide open and try to tempo them and make them adjust to you, rather than just going out and saying, "Oh, okay, we'll see if we can run, or we can see if we can do this, we can do that." But I'd kind of like to see, something like that happen. I do think they'll continue to run the ball, but I think getting the passing game going a little bit, I think would be in Carolina's best interest.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see less people in the box. I would not like to see necessarily the empty formations, which I don't really think we saw that against South Carolina State. Mm-mm. But I'd really like to see them spread it out and go tempo with the quick game on the perimeter and the screen game. The tight ends in the middle of the field, and hit Marshawn Lloyd up in there, because, he could go the distance. And we saw that against Ole Miss. South Carolina's got to do something to get off to a better start. And you'd like to hope the coaching staff has, spent that extra 48 hours working on that. And then defensively, you got to put up a fight, JC. I mean, up front, South Carolina's got to play better than they have. And, I thought Debo Williams flashed again, which you would expect him to against an FCS opponent. Bam Martin Scott is a guy that continues to come on, and Sherrod Green. And so South Carolina's, still building depth up front on defense in the front seven. And then too many, I guess it's hard to get 3 or 4 years of Travaris Robinson coaching out of guys, even though Marcellus Dial wasn't there for him. Too many DPIs, too much grabbing and pulling by the Gamecocks secondary, and you hope that getting Darius Rush back, can make a big difference there.
Yeah, I think he and Spalding both bring some veterans back to what has been a young secondary. Gamecocks 23rd in the country in passing yards allowed. Kentucky's 17th in passing yards allowed. So both these pass defenses, at least in terms of yards allowed, are going well. A lot of times they say that's a kind of a catch-22 though, because if you can. Sometimes it means you're not stopping the run, right? So that's going to be
the case for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, this D-line, Keith, especially on the interior for South Carolina, they need to as far as fight. I think that's important. I don't think Kentucky's as good as they have been up front on offense. I think they're kind of feeling their way on the offensive line. So I think these guys, you hear the term, they need to go eat. I don't think this is Arkansas or Georgia up front on offense. I think it's time for them to go eat, right?
No, I mean, I agree. You got to hope Boogie Huntley is healthy. Tonka Hemingway got the start. I think his versatility moving forward, I think, on a lot of first downs, I'm probably using him to set the edge and have him out there with, Boogie Huntley and Zach Pickens and Jordan Birch. But that's just me. They know way more about it than I do. But I thought he looked really good on the 2-point play, had a little body lean to him. You can tell he's leaned up some. He was explosive against South Carolina State. And so, it's all going to come down to the lines of scrimmage and the turnovers in this game. So South Carolina's got to get turnovers from Kentucky, and Rattler, you got to take some deep shots, and you'd think Spencer Rattler's going to start hitting them sooner rather than later. It sure would be nice to hit Amarian Brown or Juice Wells over the top Saturday night in Lexington to shut the Hillbillies up there.
Yeah, that play could take a big play like that in the passing game it could take energy out of your stadium and energize your sidelines pretty quickly. But yeah, one of these days he's going to hit Amari Brown or Juice on a big play and all that. I think Spencer Rattler too. Like the other night, the deep pass to Jalen Brooks. Brooks kind of called it falling backward, falling down, but. How do you even defend that? Because Rattler literally just threw it over the top of the whole defense.
Yep, he half-pointed the football. It came down with it.
That's
wow,
that's a hard play to defend when your quarterback can just chuck it over the top of everybody. And so I'm encouraged by that too. But I would like to see that Saturday night. All right, Keith. Well, have a good week here on Locked On the Gamecocks podcast and all that good stuff. And hopefully everybody's in a little bit better mood next Monday when we talk to you.
No doubt about it, JC. This is a huge game. It's the first of several big swing games, and so this would really be a big one, no doubt about it. Going to Kentucky and coming back with the first road win in Lexington since 2012, right?
Right.
No better time than the present.
That's right. No.
Very true, man. No, there's no doubt about it, Keith. Okay. Well, we appreciate you joining us today, man. And you're right. That 2012 game, that was Joker Phillips' last team there. Bad Kentucky team, really good Gamecock team. Carolina's behind 17-7 at halftime in that one. Second half, the Gamecocks just fed it to Marcus Lattimore over and over again and ended up winning 38-17. But that was it's been a while. It's been a while, since the Gamecocks have won in Lexington. And that used to be a place Carolina would win frequently. I think even Brad Scott, I don't think Lou Holtz ever lost up there. And I think Brad Scott got 2 wins there too. So that trip to Kentucky is Usually been fun for the Gamecocks, but not in a while. All right, Keith, talk to you soon, man.
All right. Have a great week, guys.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. That's it's Keith. Sean, I just noticed at the end of that segment, you had questions for Keith. I apologize. I'll answer your questions. With Bennett, I think it's a lot of, I think Tennessee's offense is what's trending him there by comparison. And then Anthony Rose, I think there may be an injury there or something. I need to ask around about him still. I keep meaning to do that, but then whenever I check with my contacts, it's I've got a list of other things. Yeah, I need to find out because Rose has a pretty bright future and all that good stuff. All right, final break of a Monday episode of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Phil will be back after this to tell you a little more about Manscaped. We'll continue on. Nana's Porch chat box is booming today. A boom chat box, I guess. Boom chat box. Chat boom box. Boom box. Boom, boom. Back in the 80s, people carried those boom boxes around.
My 6-year-old was trying to beatbox all weekend long, which was hilarious.
That is funny. Teach him well, Phil. Teach him well.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll be back after these messages here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MerTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. nanasporch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of the Inside the Gamecocks is presented to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX at the Lake. Get in touch with Adam and Derek for all your commercial or multi-family residential Real estate needs, A. Burgesson at remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net. And of course, we are brought to you by Manscaped. So join over 5 million men worldwide who have gotten on board with Manscaped for all of their below the waist grooming needs. Manscaped, of course, has the Performance Package 4.0 out right now. Comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, their most advanced trimmer yet. Comes with the Weed Whacker as well as a nice pair of boxers. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the toner and below the waist deodorant to also keep you smelling fresh after those times where you've been in the shower taking care of it, because, of course, it is waterproof, which is where I used mine last. And it's got a little light on it for those of you that, I don't know, need a better view. But join over 5 million men worldwide. Use the code BIGSPUR for 20% off at manscaped.com. Don't forget, that's 20% off with free worldwide shipping with the code BIGSPUR at manscaped.com. Make sure you always use the right tools for the right job with Manscaped.
All right. Once again, thanks for all of you that have purchased Manscaped products through us. That really helps the show and, helps us keep the lights on right around here. I probably need some more lights. That's what somebody told me that. Nana Sports chat box, Carolina Titan brings this up because I think people are in a bad mood because they see what Missouri did and how Kentucky looks and see a possible disaster in Kentucky this week. I hope we win. Look, I can't rule out a disaster. Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't rule that out, but at the same time, I don't think that should be the expectation. Going in, I mean, you have to go up there and play your best. Yeah, play your best. That's the whole thing. Just go play your best. I know that's a Spurrierism, but I still don't think this team's played its best game yet.
No, play your best, execute, discipline football. That was one of the things that was frustrating about the pass interference calls this past weekend. It was like it's just a complete lack of discipline.
Yeah, exactly. Spence is in the house. Mm-hmm. After let's talk road games. So I know where this is going. Yeah, Gamecocks won a road game in the SEC with fans, opposing fans, because they did win at Vanderbilt in 2020. But Nashville was probably the only city in the league that didn't let any fans in during the COVID year. Whereas there's normally not a lot of fans there in that stadium, there was nobody. It was like weird. And I think there was a weather delay too, which made it even weirder, but maybe not. I don't know. But Carolina won that one 41-7 at Vandy in 2020. It's been since 2019 and the win at Georgia. And I think you could honestly say, Phil, if you kind of, with the exception of the Missouri game last year, where Carolina just sort of came back and made it closer than it was, Gamecocks had the lead at Tennessee in 2019 and then fell apart in the second half. And since that moment, a lot of ugly moments on the road.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. And you're right, Spence. We're not going to argue today, Spence, because all of this is right. You got to get off to a fast start. We get a terrible point differential in conference play on the road. And that's one of the things that makes this game such a huge swing game. Not only do you need to turn the tide against Kentucky, obviously, in the series to take a step as a program, but you also need to prove that you can perform well on the road.
Exactly. In an environment that's loud and hostile. Like I said, they got good football fans. They're just as loud as their basketball fans are. And if you've ever been to a Kentucky basketball game at like a neutral site, I think I got the chance to go to the SEC tournament one year, men's basketball tournament in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. They fill that thing up like it's a football game. They're loud, and football, their football fans are the same way. It's going to be a pretty packed house. They're at Kroger Field. I can't believe it's called Kroger Field now. I guess
it's Commonwealth Stadium. I don't
even like Kroger. They don't have Krogers. Krogers were popular in Atlanta, but and elsewhere, but they don't have them up here. So, but yeah, I think that's just one of those things. I mean, at some point, the South Carolina Kentucky football series needs to turn back to how it was. Now, last year was a great opportunity for the Gamecocks to get their second straight win at home in the series, and that game ended up being close. But you can see why you didn't win. I mean, you only rushed for 42 yards. You only have one scoring drive you can put together the whole game, like for a touchdown. And then Parker White hits like a 50-something yarder to pull it to 6. But, then you couldn't get off the field against them. And that's the thing. Another big factor with this game, I think critical moments, Phil, I think that's going to be a key this week. We'll talk about critical moments. In other words, your defense comes up with a big turnover, man. Offense needs to go out there and stick it in the end zone. The offense goes and makes a big play. Maybe they have a scoring drive to pull you back within a manageable amount or to take the lead. The defense needs to go out there and get a stop. No special teams breakdowns, today or Saturday or whatever. But man, speaking of special teams, I do think Pete Limbo is in a zone right now. I don't think I've seen a special teams coordinator in a zone like this for a while. I mean, I was like, wow, they just snapped the ball to some kind of weird, funky formation, and
you could see, like, I rewatched it this morning, and I mean, you snap the damn ball. You got 3 defenders, 3 offensive linemen, and that big boy standing back there to take the ball. There was no stopping Tom.
Rugby play, man. I just, man, that's something. And Carolina's, I think the last 2, like, so we're 18 games into the Beamer era. I don't remember over the course of this amount of time, Carolina going for 2 as many times as they do.
No.
They'll just, hey, if you don't cover it, they're going to go for 2.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to have to start factoring in going for 2 at least once or twice every game into my score predictions.
Yeah, you get to 50 instead of 49. And by the way, somebody had 49-10? Flint or somebody last week for this game? Or who was
somebody had 49-10. We both had 52-10, and we were all like right around it. Yeah, we lost when the Price is Right. It was 49-10
49-10 because this Price is Right. That's right. All right, more injury news from around the SEC. Tennessee lost starting corner Warren Burrell for the rest of the year. So that's not good for their secondary there. I couldn't believe this. Paul Christ from Wisconsin got fired.
What's going on up there?
They hadn't had a very good year. Lost to Washington State. I didn't know Paul Christ was in danger of losing his job, though. I mean,
like what, a 650 overall record over the past 6 years he's been there.
I think though maybe the butt hurt by getting smacked at home by your former coach. The butt hurt may be strong with that one.
Yeah, that's not good.
Chris, 86-45 at Wisconsin, his alma mater. Came back from Pitt, and I thought he did pretty well, man. I'm actually pretty surprised. I mean, they were 9-4 last year.
Yeah,
I mean, won the Las Vegas Bowl. So I don't know if there's something else to it or not, but he got fired. So there's some news from around college football. And Tennessee, obviously they're not all that great on defense, but they lost another one. So they're just going to have to go score many, many more points.
Right.
Quinn Quantrell said, I don't know if you guys spoke on it, but have to give Phil credit. He was money on Mississippi State this year. Side note, how does Jimbo last in Aggieland? The buyout's $50 million. It's like $80 million, actually.
That's huge. Yeah.
It's like he's going to be a rich man. But
and I'm not that smart, Quantrell. Mississippi State, it really is Mike Leach. It's Mike Leach in the third year, and you could kind of see it coming last year. But you just knew. I just had a feeling he was going to do well. He's got great personnel. He runs the scheme that fits them. roll my eyes. And then they're just coming on, and the West is a little bit down outside of the top. So yeah, not that hard a call.
Yeah, I think, and they had everybody back, oldest team in college.
Right. Yeah, it's the oldest team. Yeah, most experience. It's like you got to go with that. It's like when Tom Izzo takes a senior laden team into the tournament, you're just like, oh yeah, go ahead and pencil that into at least the Elite Eight, if not the Final Four.
Yeah, and the good news is that Carolina actually plays Leach in the Mississippi State Bulldogs next year in Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
But then they'll lose a lot of players. I think Will Rogers will still be there, their quarterback, which is fine, but they lose a lot heading into next year, so that's good. Mike Leach is now 9-4 against Texas A&M all time in his career. So
4-loss Jimbo.
He's beaten Jimbo the last 2 years. So got to give him credit for that. But Leach is certainly that offense is special right now. A&M. See, I thought this is kind of what I thought A&M would be this year, Phil. I thought A&M would struggle on D because they're young and would be pretty decent on offense, but hadn't played out that way until Saturday. And then there's just like, wow, they got beat. So
rough, you just hope they stay down.
Yeah, I mean, they got Alabama next.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're going to continue to get your ass whooped.
and they're off, and then they play Carolina and Columbia. So the more turmoil, I think, for A&M, the better chances are Carolina can maybe get that trophy.
I hope they get housed on Saturday, and all they hear for 2 weeks of chatter is how bad they are.
Yeah, and they come into Williams-Brice and in front of a crowd, big crowd, because there's one of two ways, this could go for Carolina. I mean, either they're going to be backs against the wall with an 0-3 SEC record after next Saturday night, or they'll be 4-2 and have some good momentum. So, we'll talk about A&M. We got 2 weeks to talk about them after this game this weekend. Spencer says, but that does not go for the throat on momentum changing turnovers. He'll just trot DK out there for a Wildcat run.
Well, it wasn't DK on Saturday. It was just a run to Marshawn Lynch, but that was frustrating. It's when we took over, it was plus territory again. And, I looked at my wife and I was like, we should take a shot here, but $20 says we won't. And
I don't get why more coordinators don't do that. I mean, Spurrier obviously did it all the time, sudden change. He's going to go down the field in a lot of ways, a lot of times, but,
and who cares if you're expecting it? I mean, who cares?
It's a mental thing, with the D-back, because you're a lot of times, you got momentum during a football game and, the defense is suddenly having to get back out there. They're probably over there meeting and stuff. And then they're like, all right, let's go because we turned the ball over. It's deflating. And then you get one-on-one coverage with one of your best receivers and against their DB. I mean, that's a mental challenge for that DB from momentum wise. I mean, look, Brian McClendon tried that, once? And it went for a touchdown in the Outback Bowl. And honest to goodness, Brian McClendon, when you look back on it now, considering what's happened, I mean, probably, he got some results with the groups that he had, especially early on his first year. So, but yeah, McClendon did that in the Outback Bowl, boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, Brian Edwards jumps up over the top of their DB and scores. And that was a big play in that game. But
from a risk reward proposition, it was like the reward of that is so much greater than any risk you would be taking. I mean, okay, let's say worst case scenario, what you turn the ball over again, but you do it, down on their end of the field. Yeah. Make them drive the whole length to make up for it.
As Muschamp would say, you're still controlling the vertical field position.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like a punt, but score 7 and boom.
Quantrell says Matt Campbell should be crawling to Wisconsin. I like that fit. I do too. I don't know that he would take that. I mean, Wisconsin is a job where, and this is why this surprises me, they got rid of Chris. It's a job where they're kind of like Oregon in the sense that with a couple of exceptions, like with Gary Anderson, he was an outsider, but and he left quickly. But they've kind of gone Barry Alvarez and then Brett Bielema, and then Gary Anderson, and then you had Chris coming back home, and so they've it's kind of like Oregon has been, in the sense that they kind of promoted from within a lot and kept it in the family. I mean, at Oregon, it was Rich Brooks and then Mike Bellotti and then Chip Kelly and then Mark Helfrich before they went with Willie Taggart for a year. And then Mario Cristobal. And then now they tagged, they got Dan Lanning, who is kind of in that same coaching tree that they got. So it's, Wisconsin, they've sort of succeeded in spite of themselves. And I don't know what's up with him getting fired. I would guess losing to Brett Bielema like that was probably the last straw, right?
Must have been. I mean, it's the only thing you could figure.
Yeah, your old coach comes to town, and it's like you just get beat. Illinois off to a good start though. The Illini are 4-1. Brett Bielema can win in the Big Ten, man. SEC. Yeah. He's a winner when it comes to the Big Ten. It's ground and pound and all that good stuff. So it'll be interesting. Spencer says, it's true on Sat's flow. Yeah, there's just not a lot of flow to it. I thought the flow actually, though, I guess SC State was a little better. I didn't really feel like it was just a collection of plays. I thought the idea was to go out, hit the short stuff, run the ball, that kind of thing, and dominate. And they did, for the most part. It wasn't.
And I figured it would be a bit more simple a game plan, or, similar to Charlotte because of the short week. I mean, all of that. You don't want to get too fancy.
Yeah. I mean, they threw it down the field more than they did against Charlotte. So I thought that was progress, as we all like to say. I Help Consulting Mailbag. Tristan everybody's asking about Mazio Bennett. Like I said, I think he's going to Tennessee as of right now. So there's that with that. So so I think should be an interesting week, Phil, with Kentucky once again. Still hammering out exactly what we're going to do Thursday and Friday, but I'll be out of town. I'm heading to the game. It's my one game I'm going to this year. On the road. I try to kind of rotate and, go Kentucky 1 year, Missouri 1 year. I didn't go to Missouri last year because it was cold. And, it was like, 28 degrees after sundown down there. I was like, I don't think I'm going to go, but Kentucky's weather should be nice. Get to get out to Keeneland for the first time, see the horse races and going on a bourbon trail tour, some things like that. So that should really be fun this weekend. And Spencer agrees on the SC State flow. Yeah, it was like I said, it was a little bit better. I didn't really have a big, huge problem with the offensive play calling against SC State. But I mean, that said, I normally am not all that fired up about it in most games. But I thought the calls were sort of there. And I thought, Keith, as far as Spencer playing his best game, Rattler, I would probably tend to agree. Everybody's going to look at those two interceptions, but I don't know.
If that's all you're looking at, you're not paying attention.
Yeah. I thought he was very efficient. I mean, and that was the offense. I would call it efficient the other night. And I know, and then on defense, I think the issues stemmed probably 100% from them throwing SC State throwing a curveball in there with their backup quarterback who's fast, really fast. So kind of like Alabama, not as fast as Alabama's quarterback yesterday. My gosh, or Saturday. I was like, my goodness, how crazy was that?
That was impressive.
All of a sudden, he's just gone. I'm like, wow, that's really amazing. So here we go with all that. But kickoff 7:30 p.m. Eastern at Kroger Field, SEC Network. Shane Beamer talks to the media tomorrow. And so that's the deal. With that, got a few more questions or comments here. Spencer says, listen, play calling can be overrated, but with SAT, it's not subpar. I also think there are offensive line protection scheme issues. By the way, who's coaching the O-line now? Lonnie Teasley. He's been coaching for a while. O-line's gotten better. I mean, I'm not saying they never miss an assignment or a block because that's unrealistic, but they're getting better. I thought they played pretty well against SC State. I think in some of those run packages, though, Phil, where they go with multiple tight ends, I think that helps out when you got Nate Atkins out there because that just gives you like a few extra blockers.
And it's good to see Nate run, or even Stogner even run, across the entire line, take the direction of the play over there, and end up being the lead blocker from the opposing tight end position because you've got two of your best blockers out there doing it.
Yeah, I know. I like that. I like that idea. Quantrell says, "Does getting to a bowl negate changes to the staff?" I wouldn't think so. I would think that the expectations internally, I think, were a lot bigger than just getting to a bowl this year.
Right.
I think that that was
and there again, how does it look? How did you get there?
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions that remain there.
How did everything go? Saunders says, last thing I forgot to mention, and am I imagining this, or did I see the cameras pick up Kitchens on the sidelines on Thursday? I think he was. I think I've seen Freddie on the sidelines a couple of times on TV. Spencer says, too many targets to Adkins, though. He has zero wiggle. Can't make a man miss in the phone booth. I think they did that to break some tendencies. I think Shane actually said something about that after the show. I mean, after the game. To where, when in other words, opposing defensive coordinators, if they see 44 come in and they know it's a run, that kind of tips your hand a little bit. But, Atkins is a type, he's not going to be like Jaheim Bell breaking tackles out there. But, if he's open, he can get upfield and get yardage. I saw it with his film from East Tennessee State, man. He can do that.
That's one of the passes I think Spencer would want to have back from from Thursday is that one where he missed Nate. He just threw it too high.
Yeah.
On the flat, because if Atkins had caught that, you're looking at a good chunk play.
Yeah, a really good chunk play. See that, and that's another reason why, in that situation, that's the right play call. On that. So, but I look, Spencer. He's not our Spencer. Nate Atkins is not going to be confused with Jaheim Bell anytime soon. But I can see the value of a guy like that. You look at how much Pat DeMarco meant back when he was playing at Carolina. Adam Prentice for 1 year. I think Adam Prentice is in the NFL, by the way. But for 1 year, when he came in from Colorado during the pandemic year, and I thought he was a big help with Kevin Harris leading the SEC in rushing. I thought he meant a lot. So that's the thing there. All right. Well, we got to get out of here, right, Phil?
Yeah. Well, we've made it through the entire Monday show.
Appreciate all of you joining us. Always appreciate Keith Allsep and his Monday hot take. I say hot take. Maybe I should. That's kind of a negative connotation these days.
I call it home truths from Keith. Home truths. Like if you don't want to hear some home truths, don't ask Keith.
Yeah, exactly. But home truths. That's good. Spencer had one more thing. He said, "I see the value for sure. It's just when you have two NFL tight ends, you don't waste possessions to Atkins." Well, it depends on who's blocking the best. I think with those types of things and. Like I said, I don't think Jaheim Bell is a tight end. Marcus Satterfield said he wasn't a tight end. Everybody says he's not a tight end, like a true tight end. He can play. He can line up there. He can line up at receiver. He can line up at running back. They don't use him, So 14 snaps.
He's not in the slot running down the seam like he did last year. So
yeah, exactly. All right. Spencer says, great show. We appreciate all you guys.
Thanks, Spence. Yep.
And we will be back tomorrow, and we'll give you the schedule for tomorrow, probably Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish for the rest of the week and all that. But certainly always appreciate each and every one of you joining us. This has been Inside the Gamecocks, the show for Phil Mullinax, JC Sherbert. Have a great afternoon.